any other performer watches what happened. So we watched what happened instead of my interpretation of it, and then we destroyed the tape. So just wanted to give you a chance if anybody is, have any questions. So it's really designed in service of you and taking sessions. So last week, and it was useful because last week, if you guys, last session, if you remember, we had there was an interaction with Darlene and myself about the distinction choice, and then I actually went back and observed the tape about what happened. And she asked me, and I wish she was here, but we got a chance to complete what happened, and it was a result of the training. I watched it. She'd asked me a question about considerations, and I didn't answer that question and said somewhere else. So I really got to complete the comparisons from it. If anybody has anything about it, that's what happened. Just wanted to clear that. Okay. So I wanted to have you share from the assignment. So last session's assignment, your first assignment was to practice living life as a matter of choice. So you were to choosing all of, in other words, it was choosing all of it, all of life, the way it is and the way it's not. So you were, you were to notice what you're resisting and give up your resistance and choose life. So you are to practice experiencing choosing life the way it is and the way that it's not, and choosing freely in life. So, and again, choosing doesn't mean submitting, it doesn't mean blaming, and it doesn't also being, doesn't equal being resigned about anything. It's, choosing, to choose is to select freely and after consideration. So, and until you choose what is, just the way it is and the way it's not, there is no opportunity to own all of your life. So, I want to hear from you what happened in your engagement with choosing, what have you been resisting, what have you been discovering from choosing even areas that were difficult to choose. Yes, Mary.
Since I hurt my back again, my
Yes.
daughter's been coming over to do the housework. And she's really gotten kind of sloppy. But I'm not paying her much, so I have to say, okay, that's all right. That it's on things I can do myself. And so instead of bringing it up to her, playing military Mary, I just said, she is who she is. It's the way it is, it's the way it's going to be. And instead of having an argument or bringing it up and making her feel bad or whatever, I thought, I can still do that. I can't do the vacuuming and I can't do the mopping. The rest of it I can pretty much do. So I thought, I'll just clean it up later, and it's worth it not to have to deal with that. So by accepting her for the fact that she's just not gonna do a complete job, it's the way she is, it's the way it's going to be, I felt better when she left, and it didn't even bother me that dust was still there or that smudge was there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, I'll take care of it when I feel like it.
That's so great. Let's acknowledge Mary. This is so powerful because, first I want to acknowledge you for taking on the assignment and being, taking on the opportunity to, make a difference for your daughter, because it takes a big person to be willing to even engage in that. And she didn't do a perfect job is an interpretation, right? She can only do what she's doing, and she's not doing what she's not doing.
Right.
So, choosing is the opportunity to just be with life the way it is and the way it's not.
And, it's not like you're leaving a wrench in an airplane well, or something that's gonna kill 300 people. I can test that off myself.
But watch, we act as if it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I get all reactivated about because my daughter said this to me on the phone. I'm like, on the big scheme of things, it means nothing. Like I can actually be with her wasting my life about this opportunity. You know, my daughter's calling me from London, and she was complaining about something about her boss, and I had this thought, you know, this entitled millennials going da 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 da, like that. You know, instead of, I really caught myself, you know, just choosing the way she is and the way she's not, and it was just an opportunity to be in communication. It was nothing for me to do, so thank you for
Well, I think
doing
it
that.
makes you feel more present when you
Yeah.
do that. You feel,
Yeah.
okay, this is not gonna step in the way, you know, because you don't have all that other crap going on up here.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the other thing you have to consider is, you know, a lot of us are living life in order to get somewhere. You know, life has turned out. This is it. So you can either choose it the way it is or the way it's not. And when you can choose life the way it is, right now, right here, it actually allows you to be.
Right here, right now.
Yeah, you can actually be. You can actually accept the way it is and the way it's not. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, thank you. Who else? So some of you I know had a breakthroughs in dealing with, you know, areas that are were difficult to choose. Some of you may still be struggling. So yeah, Bethany, please stand. I know it's a small group, but yeah.
So over on the 13th, my brother got married, and I was not invited to his wedding, and it was really, I was really making it mean something, like, to myself. And then after kind of processing through some of it, I was like, it doesn't really mean that. Like, he still communicates with me, he still loves me. And I'm like, okay, wait, it doesn't mean that he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't want me to be there, or whatever it is, like that. I was making it mean, like, okay, he is who he is. He's made that decision. It doesn't affect my life going forward. And so it's just been really liberating to come off of that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, instead of just sitting here dwelling on it, being super like, just down on myself about it. Oh, wait, okay. I can move on now. Like, here's my life going forward
Yeah,
without that.
yeah.
So it's
So
been,
great.
no, it's been great because then I'm able to, like, even just tonight, just text him, like, hey, how's trending? Like, how everything's going, instead of being upset if he's not, just shutting down.
Yeah. So great. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and then some of you may still be struggling of what it will take to choose. So anyone who's still struggling? Okay.
I actually have like 10 minutes ago, I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, I have 2 scheduling errors this week where I double booked. Didn't communicate with the client, so I didn't get paid for half the session because I didn't let them know ahead of time. I'm just sitting here thinking, man, this is just like nonstop. I have all these scheduling problems. I cannot manage my time. And I was very much seeing now here I'm at the seminar and I'm going to be in my head thinking about this the whole time instead of being present. And I just said, wait a second. No, I choose my schedule because I choose my schedule. I have power to change it if it needs change. And so that was like immediately I was able to, okay, now I can be present. Now I can actually be here and get what's going on. So that was like a really huge breakthrough for me to be that kind of caught up in my old way of thinking and to be immediately be able to say, no, I choose my schedule because I choose my schedule.
And not choosing it is not going to make it any better, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. Thank you. Acknowledge that. So yeah, so a few hands. Wow, we got a few. We actually have you. Okay, I'm going to hear, but I was going to have you share with each other, but I want to hear a couple more. Okay. So Tali, go ahead.
Yeah, it's still in the middle one, because
Okay.
the whole time I'm really just struggling to choose my financial situation. Just like, but that was really helpful. It's like, I just got back from New York, I got to go to Fashion Week, and it was cool. I went to a show from one of the project runway designers, and I got seated next to the British Vogue editors, and they like, you know who you are, we wanted you to write horoscopes. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
this is amazing. But that was like, all these cool things. I got to meet my editor at Elle, who's on Project Runway, and then I'm like, I have to choose it. I stopped doing meetings because I want to develop something else, and I have this hole in my finances. My husband's between changing work, I have all this financial pressure, and it's like, here, it's like, oh, British Vogue, and I don't have enough money, and it's like really hard to choose. Like, but I'm like, why am I choosing in this like path of like struggle instead of like creating relationships with brands and stuff that I could be? I'm like trying to choose like.
But what are you
Choosing a
making
breakdown
choosing?
right now,
Yeah, right,
you
what are
know?
you making choosing your finances mean?
I think I'm trying to choose a business model that isn't working for me.
Okay.
And then the universe is showing me like, oh, there's all these people who have like probably budgets and power who'd be like, here,
Okay.
write something for us. And I'm like
Okay,
trying to
okay.
choose like doing it the hard way, my way, the way I did, you know?
Yeah.
But I think
Okay.
I'm like, the choosing is in like choosing that I don't have any idea what I'm supposed, it's almost like choosing that I don't know right now is like the only thing that's giving me some power because
This is so
it's a
great.
breakdown
Yeah.
for me big time, you know?
Yeah, and you've been a long-time graduate of this work. I mean, I've been doing this work for over 20 years, and it's still, look, the distinction choosing is a very difficult one to get. You get it confused with sort of, doesn't mean you have to like your situation,
Yeah.
okay? But choosing doesn't mean, so choosing means you weren't given the vanilla or chocolate finance in life. You got the finances that you got.
Right. Well, it's
That's
just
all
like
you got.
always been that way, like I've always finances always occurs. I never have enough money, I
Well,
don't
that's,
have to
yeah,
reinvest it,
but all of that,
you know?
but still, you only got one set of finances.
Mm.
It's the one you got.
Mhm.
You don't have the one you didn't have.
It's true.
You only have one set of finances at this particular
I
moment.
don't think I'm choosing it then. I better
Well,
work on
that's,
that, yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to like it,
Yeah.
but that's the only one you got.
Like
Right?
I'm trying to choose, I know, I
Yeah.
cried on a bench in Brooklyn and some guys were like, are you okay?
Right.
Love New York. Like, you just cry on the street, no one cares. Everyone does.
But do you get, until, you don't have to like the state of your finances, but until you can choose it the way it is and the way it's not, you don't have a shot at making a difference. All you have is a story about your finance, about what it should be, it should da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
You know, why is it so hard to, I just like, I have to choose like investment, I don't know, like that I can't do it by myself right now. you know?
I got it, but
Yeah.
look, do you have a set of, you have finances?
I do,
That's
I'll
it.
be, it'll be fine, I'll sell some books.
I
I'll
don't know
pay
if it would be
back
fine, I
my
don't know if it would be fine or not.
But it's like the cycle, I'm sick of it, you know?
But see,
But I
all
can
of that
choose
is a
it,
story.
yeah, right.
It's, right now, this very moment, you have a set of account numbers, and they have a bunch of digits in them. That's it.
It's empty and meaningless, like,
Well,
I
you-
wouldn't do that.
No, but
I know. Yeah.
it's that black and white. The banker doesn't care. Or the bank
But the
does.
meaning I'm loading onto every damn dollar in my bank account. is
All the
just driving me
suffering is in the
crazy. I
meaning,
know.
right?
Yeah.
There's people who have way less money than you have and are super happy. And then people who have way more and are miserable.
I
So
did
the,
not grow up with money and I long for those days.
right? Yeah.
I was much happier.
Yeah. So your state of satisfaction is not related
It's
to how
not.
much money you have or you haven't. And you've got what you got, and you don't have what you don't have. And you can,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you've got 10 fingers, you got those,
yep,
you can choose them as the 10 fingers that you have,
yeah.
and that will give you access to something, at least some relationship to reality.
Trying to choose it and not choosing it is causing me mega anxiety, pain, and suffering right now, and I don't know
Yeah,
what to do
yeah,
about
yeah,
that. You know,
yeah,
I like
yeah.
really in an ongoing upset, wake up feeling like, oh my God, every morning
Because,
in the middle of the night, you
yeah,
know?
because, yeah, and what, yeah, and that's why the distinction choosing is difficult. It doesn't Doesn't mean you have to accept it or condone it or be resigned about it.
But if I don't, I mean, when I did choose it, then it was like that British Vogue thing happened, and every time I choose it, something awesome.
But even that,
appears.
you know, you have a because about it.
Right, that's true. But I was in the state of like, all right, screw it, I choose it, and then it was like, oh.
Yeah, but that's
Then I
also
go back
risky. That's
down.
also risky, yeah, because there's an order to it.
Oh, I see.
Like, I mean, why is the floor the way the floor is?
Okay.
I don't know, but at least taking the case that it is why, it is the way it is because it's the way it is, gives me one relationship to reality.
And
Like,
all of that is encompassed in,
Yeah.
on the highs and lows and the star-powered moment of crying on the bench.
Yeah, and you wanna take the case that you don't know why your finances, I'm sure you have lots of opinions, but if we ask your husband, he may have a different opinion about it, or if you ask somebody else, they may have different opinions about it. So instead of engaging why are my finances the way they are, you could start with taking the case that my finances are the way they are because that's the way they are.
Yeah,
There's no-
I didn't actually choose, 'cause I didn't
Yeah.
actually do it that way, so.
It's just-
I was just like, I choose my finances.
No, that's like positive thinking.
Yeah.
That's
No
gonna last
wonder, no
10
wonder.
minutes.
Choose my finances.
Right.
Choose my, okay.
That's a created way of speaking, because they are the way they are and the way they're not right now. So you're just choosing them the way they are and the way they're not, as a created speaking.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Thank you. All right. Choose my finances, but choose my finances. I'll
Yeah.
work on that.
Don't worry about it,
All right, I'm
please.
gonna not
Yeah, you get-
positive thinking thing that.
Yeah.
I know. All right. That helps. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, yeah, that's a good. Okay, so, everyone, so, yeah, so, for per row, so each, U4, U3, turn around and share with each other. Get what you got out of the assignment of choosing, and you wanna be listening from each other about, you know, from the sharing, what's relevant for you, so everyone brings a real committed listening to people's sharing, so you wanna hear other people. And how you'll do this is, what I got out of practicing living life as a matter of choice is, you know, you could say, like Tali shared, I don't really get it, like whatever it is there, or whatever you heard from tonight, so please go ahead and get into a group and get 2 minutes each to share.
Hi, good.
Yeah, okay, so you 4, yeah.
Oh, you should.
So what I got out of practicing like shoes,
Good. I actually put a lot of thought into this thing about choosing, you know. And I don't know how much this follows landmarks line or not. But I just don't know. But I the last 2 weeks, whenever I've done something, I remind myself, whatever I'm doing, I made a choice to do. And it's not a matter of making a choice with any kind of regret or it being a matter of making the choice because somebody else, I'm trying to please somebody so much. But I'm finding that the more I can remind myself when I am doing something that I wouldn't, if it was just me, that I wouldn't have chosen to do this thing, that I can accept the choice and it doesn't ruin my day. I'm okay with it. You know, whatever I've chosen to do, okay, I chose to do that, so I'm gonna be okay with it. I'm not gonna dwell on, you know, the fact that it's it's making me upset or something like that, I'm good with it, and it's working pretty good. You know, before that's not how I approach things. When I had to make a decision, in the matter of doing something that just for me, I wouldn't do it, but, you know, like keep peace in the family type thing. There was always a certain amount of resentment about that, doing it, you know, oh, well, I do this, and I'm just gonna be the good guy here and do this thing. I can see where I can get over that and get beyond it, and just do it, you know, and go on with life. So that's my 2 minutes or 2 cents. Oh, okay. Terry?
I think the biggest thing I've noticed is,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Things that before would have stressed me out or worried me or like the person had to be as direct to the face my I can choose how I feel about this right
Yeah.
now. You know, just being able to choose how I respond. But when I has changed everything, every time, constantly, things that before would immediately have that emotional response, but I can't think of it. Whether I can make a decision, and now I can see the difference. So I'm not I can say, I'm choosing to deal with this, I'm choosing to deal with this, as it is right now.
Right, that's my mantra, yeah.
It's amazing how much it takes the fight out of me. I'm actually able to deal with it.
Makes the day easier. Yeah.
One thing I noticed, right, now, work. Tomorrow,
Yeah.
And I feel like I haven't choose yours, like, I choose it, I don't choose it, I choose it, I choose it. A lot of this is what leads to my house, to stay and to go, and to stay and to go, and to stay. Staff. Some people are still like some people say, I'm gonna go somewhere else, or there's more money, and more, they'll stay, and we'll go back and forth. But I'm happy with it, so choose it or not. Choose it. Kind of on the overarching head, choose it. So long, right? How she felt about it, having to do it, and probably putting all to their side. I guess the consideration is choosing so it would be that much.
choosing distinction wasn't as powerful for me in the world, but these past couple of weeks, really kind of seen more life in action. Actually using it and how it makes the difference.
Yeah. Big deal is something that we talk about today.
Yeah, it's just being aware of it, you know, that I had never thought about this choice thing that much, you know, before, you know, we went to the landmark thing and all this, and all that, and really having to work on it, you know, I mean, it's not like, I think we have probably as many breakdowns as I do breakthroughs with stuff, but in those things about talking about doing things, saying, okay, I made the choice of this, so I'm okay with it. Well, that's my wife's because we're retired and she's working on this stuff. I have to go to Harvard because her dad passed away when she was sick here. He has to go through stuff on his house. Joy, you want to go to That's not, you know, that's not something that I'm like, yeah, you know, that I'm really excited about doing it. I'm gonna drive up there, you know, and I used to give her a lot of crap about it. You know, in the past, we've had some pretty good exchanges over it. But I get to the point where I'm going, okay, that's life, it is what it is, and I'm okay with, I'm gonna make a choice to not make it worse by driving up there, you know, steaming all the way up there, you know, driving. Yeah, you know, so and that does make it easier, that makes life easier, you know, we get along better. I found that, you know, the day goes quicker, and we get back home, and, you know, we're both talking, you know, we can converse, you know, without, you know, looking for, well, what can I say that's a good jab?
That's what my daughter now is,
Exactly.
she's still looking at what I like, what are you doing? You know, she's like, not my mother.
Not sure if I got it down the way you're talking about it, but it's a concept that I never examined before.
Yeah, I did each of the 3 days.
Sorry.
I did.
Wife does that all the
Woman thing, blame it on a woman thing.
I think
And I was waiting for the group leaders and we were talking about somebody was going with that. And when it came in for me, I don't know if this will work for you guys if you're having a problem with it. First you have to make shoes. You have to make the choice. Once you make the choice, then you can start making decisions. And decide about what to do. But once you accept it for what it is, you make the choice to do that, then you can start making decisions to get the job done. Does that sound easier?
Yeah, and initially they respond. Yeah, it's like instead of responding to the emotions about how you feel about how something is, you're responding to the reality of how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, accepting just what it is. Now is when the deciding comes in. The difference between choice and
What did you guys share that you
So mine was like, the start saying yes to the decision, to correct decision.
Choose this, and now I need to decide how to do it.
Exactly, and how to correct it, or improve on it, or whatever it is you're trying to do. Yeah. I can't do much more with my daughter. So you choose to accept her for who she is and who she isn't. Hopefully when you're leading her, help her want to come to shore so that she can get here. Because this is how I got here, with my son. And it was the change in him.
She had conversations with you about, you seeming different afterwards.
Every now and then she'll say something like, Mom, is there just yeah, I can't say too much.
Shoes don't do that.
Yeah, because she came to the meeting, she was just like an AA meeting, she just said, it's not easy like an AA. You know, but she had her mind set up there, and now I'm not going to do it. But I came, Mom, you wanted me to come and check it out. I said, okay. You know, it may take a while, like, she doesn't bring herself to the
I'm gonna steal that in my business because
And acknowledge your partner. So is there anyone who still has a breakdown choosing? Or is it sufficiently present now?
share something that I discovered for myself?
Sure.
Maybe
Yeah, stand up, yeah.
it will benefit someone. What I was confusing with choosing
Yeah,
equal settling.
settling for, yeah, that's really
Deciding
good.
that,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
this is the way it is. and
Yeah.
I can not do anything.
yeah.
But I discovered that when I choose whatever it is, the way it is, it gives me power to create something different, you know, maybe see it from another angle, not the resignment or conformity or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Like I'm accepting, I'm choosing that this is the way it is. I don't resist it anymore. So that's what I wanted to share. That I was confused, you know, but I got it. It's like it gives me power actually to transform or create something for the future.
Thank you. Yeah, choosing is, you know, it's one of the most powerful distinctions. You know, people have, there's just so many horrible things, you know, rapes, incest, I mean, all kind of abuses that happen. And people who have the power to choose that it happened when it happened and it didn't happen when it didn't happen, without any judgment whatsoever, have the power to actually be freed up from the impact. Most people who suffer all their life is because they haven't been allowing themselves to choose it, that it didn't happen. So, yeah,
I think what I'm not choosing.
if you can stand up, yeah.
I think what I'm not choosing is this failure. I'm glad we're talking about that tonight. But there's systems
Yeah.
in my business that are failing. On the other side, there's room for something new, but if I don't choose failure, I literally cannot choose success. And I think I'm hearing that there's a failure going on, like my ad revenue got cut in half because Google changed their algorithm. I needed to shift a few people, there's like failures and it's like really hard to.
Well, I
choose
mean,
those.
okay.
I choose the failure because
Well, yeah, you could definitely, that will give you power.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into
I'll let
failure.
you lead, sorry.
No, that's fine, no, you can stand, no, because there's something that you said that I think is really useful for everyone to distinguish. I mean, you could definitely choosing all the things that you said, the circumstances as circumstances would give you access to dealing, to take actions that are appropriate, that are not based on the circumstances. You know, we're gonna get into failure later. There's categories of fear that we call authentic and inauthentic fear, and what that means, and then all of that kind of stuff. We're gonna get into that. Yeah. And you also want to get, for this particular conversation, there is no such thing as, so failure is a creative conversation. Yeah.
I'll just sit down and listen.
Okay, thanks. All right, so tonight, yes, come on, stand up.
So something you said there just kind of clicked with me as far as like failure and stuff is like choosing things the way they are and the way they aren't opens up, at least this is where my mind's going with it, it removes the possibility to add brackets to it, it removes the possibility because you're seeing it the way it is, and until you actually choose it as whole and complete, you can't do anything about it, it's gonna continue to persist. Seeing it for everything it is and everything that it isn't, then gives you the freedom and the power to actually see it from a different perspective, or add to it differently, or take ownership of it. And so choosing it as a failure, you choose it as a failure because it failed, but now you can build on it and change it and grow. Otherwise you just hit a wall, it's just making reasons.
Yeah, you've been creating something on top of something.
Right, yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
Transition.
Yeah.
Just keep coming up with words like thesaurus and stuff.
Well, but I think, you know, you want to get this, you're grappling with it.
Yes.
And one of the, you know, real measure or register that you're actually engaged with the distinction and the power is not in getting clear or understanding it. If you're left actually less certain started, that should give you an indication that you're actually grappling with it. So it's a good thing. Yeah. So you don't want to, our thrust is to rush into a conclusion. This means this, and let me connect it to that. Therefore, life doesn't work that way. So it's great that we're exploring all the different aspects. And all this is sort of presented as an offering for you to relate to it from your life. And everybody's going to have their own relationship to whatever is being presented. And it's actually hinting at how it impacts your life, for you to engage in that. So does that communicate? So that's what the distinctions are. So tonight is about conversations that displace your living a life of choice. So we've seen how resisting choice provides, and then we're going to create the next distinction, which is the inauthentic fear of failure. So now we're going to have a conversation about living a transformed life, a life of possibility for yourself and the people in your life. So we want to talk about inauthentic fear. And what we mean by inauthentic fear is something that isn't happening and acting as if it's happening. So it's that something that's not happening and is acting as if it's happening. So the experience of fear and what we feel in our bodies, that part is real, because our body doesn't know the difference between a real threat in the present and an imagined or perceived threat in the future that is likely or unlikely. So that's the difference. So one of the most common examples of fear or inauthentic fear is the fear of failure. So you can't really have a successful conversation about living life or possibility unless you can deal with failure. So people, you and I are nutty about failure. We just go crazy. In fact, most people deal in one way or the other with the topic of failure. So just out of curiosity, how many of you deal with failure? Or fear of failure, I should say. People get agreement in the back. Okay, me too. So, first, the conversation we're about to have is not meant to trivialize the fear of failure. Okay, and it's not even meant to say that you shouldn't have fear of failure. Okay? Or, in fact, for many people, the fear of failure is one of the most difficult obstacles to deal with. So, and we want you to know, if you're that kind of person, there is no way around it. So this conversation is not like a magic bullet. Okay? But we will bring distinction to the phenomenon of fear of failure and give you access to power in dealing with it. Okay? So the first question is, why is the fear of failure such a huge deal? Anybody? Why is that? Yeah.
Embarrassment?
Embarrassment. Okay. Yeah, it's so often emotionally charged and experientially charged. The feeling of embarrassment, guilt, and all that kind of stuff, right? Doesn't look good.
Right.
So we experience it in our body sensations, in our thoughts, in our memories, even in our images of ourselves, right? And given the seminar is about dealing with what's real in life, this is an important conversation to have. So, so if you take this conversation on, and I really encourage you to stay in this conversation, you have at least access to dealing powerfully with it. So now, we want to get up on the table the impact of the fear of failure on your life. So I want to hear from a few of you who would like to share what has been the impact of the fear of failure in your life. Who would like to share? Marcella and then Blake. Yes, what's been the impact of the fear of failure in your life?
Well, I can share about sharing the landmark.
Perfect, yeah,
recognition with
perfect.
someone else.
Okay.
Diminishment, you know, I feel mostly like it represents in my stomach, like I feel weird, like, you know, I'm not speaking up or I'm not sharing this.
Yeah.
And I experience, yeah, diminishment and then a lot of making me wrong. And embarrassment, like someone else said.
So you want to share about the landmark with someone, about the landmark
Yeah,
forum?
this was before, because I
Yeah.
shared it and I discovered so many things by actually taking action, but, you know, the thing was, I wanted to say something,
Yeah.
but I didn't say it.
Yeah.
So that motion of stopping myself created something physically, you
Sure,
know, because
sure,
I felt it here,
sure.
like, and then here, why
Sure.
didn't you say anything?
Sure.
You know, you have this, it's benefiting your life so much, and you're not sharing it with this person, you know. And
Sure, sure.
It brought a lot of shame, actually, you know, for not
Very good, yeah, yeah.
sharing.
Yeah. So you want to share something, and then you find yourself stopped because of the fear of failure. What if
Yeah.
they say no? And then you're left
And
with an
so much-
experience of
so many more things.
embarrassment, shame, or diminishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's the, thank you, Mr. Knight. Right, yeah, so what's been the impact of the fear of failure in your life?
Yeah, the impact of fear of failure in my life has been situationally different in a lot of different times. There's been impact where I quit before I even started.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of that, there's also been times where I charge in and like I'm afraid of failing, so I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
And
It's really good.
then there's also been times where it's not necessarily quitting before I start, but more so kind of like what you were saying, where it's an overwhelming feeling and I stall. And it's just like procrastination starts happening, and so there's been a lot of different impacts on my life with fear of failure.
Yeah, so both physical and in the action that you take or don't take.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, so whether you're dealing, you know, in life with a transformed life, whether you're dealing with raising children in your business, in sharing the landmark forum, whatever it is, you know, any game we play in life, all of us deal with the phenomenon, fear of failure. Okay? The first thing to get is that you will never resolve the fear of failing no matter how hard you work at it. Working hard to resolve your fear of failure is what keeps that fear in place. So rather than trying to overcome your fear, we're going to bring distinction to the phenomenon fear of failure. So if you engage in this conversation, you will create a powerful access to really giving yourself to the games that you want to play in life, no matter what they are. So how many of you could see that could make a difference for you? Right? So for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to create categories of fear, okay? And why we're doing that is strictly to empower you. So the first, the first categories are what we'll be calling authentic fear. So can someone give me an example of an authentic fear?
Fear of a tiger.
Falling off a cliff.
Falling out of a cliff?
A bear chasing you.
I'm sorry?
A bear chasing you.
Okay, a bear chasing you, falling off a cliff, physical, yeah, okay, or fear of a tiger. So authentic fear is when, in reality, you're being threatened. So if the tiger is actually coming at you, then yes, or a bear, or bear, or you're on the cliff and you're about to fall, yes, or somebody has a gun in your head, or a knife to your throat, or there's a speeding car coming at you. In reality, that would be considered your life is being threatened.
So completely in the present.
Yes, in the present, in reality, your life is being threatened. So that would be what we would call an authentic fear. Okay? Now, we're going to create a second category that we call an inauthentic fear. Okay? So, now, let me tell you what we don't mean by inauthentic fear. Okay? We don't mean it is silly to have this fear. We don't mean it's silly to have this fear. We also don't mean that the experience of fear isn't real. The experience of fear isn't real. It's also not a fear we're saying you shouldn't have. Okay? And it's not an indictment of a person. It's just a distinct category of fear. So, who's got an example of an inauthentic fear? Christina.
I had a car accident, and then after that I was freaked out. I was always gonna get in a car accident, even though most of my life had been totally safe, so just imagine.
So
that I
driving,
constantly get in an
there's no
accident.
accident, but anticipating that you might get in
Right.
an accident. Yeah, that would be an authentic fear. Yeah. Bethany and then Mary.
Being
Yes.
afraid of the dark.
Being afraid of the dark. Okay. Yeah, that would be. Well, what do you think might happen?
If you don't know, like.
You don't
A
know.
monster might
A
jump out,
monster.
like.
No, that's the,
Yeah. Okay. Mary.
mine's kind of present tense, as I was driving over in the rain
Yeah.
from Spokane.
Yeah.
Rain over here is weird. It's like 1 minute you're in it, you can't see out the windshield, the next thing you're on dry road. I haven't figured it out yet, but I told Dennis, I said, if it's raining at night and I have to drive all the way back to Redmond, I literally, at my age, I can't see the lines when it's raining, or it scares me to death. So is that an authentic or inauthentic fear?
Well,
My
it's-
eyesight's
so that-
poor,
Mm,
you know, at night, I just can't see well at night.
well,
And with the rain, I can hardly see the white lines.
are you experiencing the fear while you're driving or when you're anticipating driving if it rains?
When I'm driving, I don't go out at night hardly at all anymore. I don't mind so much Spokane because I know my way around. And the streets are well lit. Not so much here.
Just pick one of this. So are you talking about why you're driving back to Redmond and it's raining? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I haven't had that happen yet, but according to the
Then
weather.
if it doesn't happen, it's
Okay.
inauthentic. Just
The-
take the case.
According to the weather department, it was supposed to be raining. And I told my son last night, I said, I am scared to death to
Yeah,
drive back.
exactly.
If it's
So-
raining tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And
So-
so, it's unauthentic because
It
it's
is.
not happening.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's
they
still
don't-
an actual, you know, and I mean, it's not just,
Yeah, so we're not saying you shouldn't be scared,
right,
or the experience that you have is not, the body sensation, all of that is real.
right.
We're saying it's not in reality happening. You're not veering off the white line and
I'm
falling.
still gonna call an Uber.
Yeah, but
I wanna
still.
get home alive.
Yeah, but that's a fear of something that anticipated.
Okay,
And we're gonna get into
Okay.
that in more detail, but that is what we would call inauthentic fear. Because
Okay.
your life is not being threatened at the time that you're having that fear.
right,
It's an imagined threat.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Who else? Who's got it? Yes?
I have inauthentic fears around my children all the time.
Mm.
They're gonna fall off the ski lift.
That's
Or we're
right.
scuba diving and they're not gonna be able to breathe.
Yeah.
Or somebody's gonna pick them up off the road and I'll never see them again, or like.
Yeah. And
constant
that's
permanent
real,
thoughts.
right? As
Something's gonna happen to
experientially.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The concern is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great, okay. So, like I said, yeah, I'm not saying it's, the experience is not real. I mean, the
Right.
experience is actually real. I mean, we can feel it in our body, our heart start pumping, and our heart beats faster, the adrenaline pumps, all of that stuff is real. And so you wanna get it for yourself, so everybody, you want to be in this conversation, you wanna get present to the way in which fear happens for you, just like Melissa and Mary beautifully illustrated. You want to get present for yourself when you experience fear, how it happens for you. So, and is there anyone who's unclear and or would like to work with me to get that present? I mean, that was beautiful. But anyone wants to have a breakthrough, want to have the present, that this fear get present? This will make a big difference. Yes, Tally. Okay. So what?
Get rid of this one. Well, no, I can't.
Well, you will, but I mean, you'll have power. You'll have a transformation. So, tell me, what's the area, what's the fear, and what is, how does it show up?
Fear is that I will not make the money back that I invested in digital marketers to help sell my book, and I'll zap all my energy and won't be able to like come up with a new product and I'll just I'm just gonna start spending more than I'm making and wind up like in mega debt.
Okay, so ultimately, it's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up in mega debt.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what is that experience for you to end up in mega debt?
Oh, I'll have to sell my house, I'll have to go work a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, right.
That is scary. I've done that since 1998. I will not, I don't know, I'll just look like a failure loser.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's sufficiently present, like,
Yeah.
am I going to get the return on investment on my digital marketing investment, and then if it doesn't, if I keep spending, I'm gonna end up
My
in mega debt.
business is gonna go,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out of
Kaput,
business, or
yeah,
I'll have
yeah,
to
yeah.
be like, open up a storefront psychic window and see people for $5 readings.
Yeah, right, all of that, right? Yeah, it just, there's no stopping to the imagination, right? Oh God, and when you engage in that, what's your, like, how do you feel in your body? What, do you have a body sensations about it?
Mega heart racing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I have to get up in the middle of the night and pace around and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
just like breathe and.
yeah. Worry and concern.
I just like look around my house and why did you buy that couch?
Yeah.
Why did you, it's so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. Self-blame, yeah.
Like beautiful things.
Yeah. And so all of that is clear, like
Yeah.
it's the impact. And then the next question is, what's your strategy for dealing with it whenever you have that thought?
Oh, I'll call my sister and stress her out too. It's like, we've got to
She
do
has a
something
pain.
about this.
Yeah, let's do something
you know?
about it, yeah.
Then I'll start telling my husband now he has to like hurry up and figure out what he wants to do with his life.
Yeah.
Or I'll suppress that and I'll just like, I'm gonna figure something out. I'm gonna design a class, I'm gonna do that, you know, just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
spin out, trying to figure out like short term, and sometimes I'll implement a short term strategy and make a chunk of money and then like it goes nowhere, it's not connected to anything, then I start at zero again. So it's just like the hamster wheel of.
That's so great, yeah. So can you see they go hand in hand? Every time you have this fear of failure, and then there's this sort of dread experience that you have, and as a coping mechanism, you gotta come up with something. You know, wake up the husband, talk to the sister, do something, try something, whatever, right? We have a strategy for dealing with it, for the fear of failure. So, thank you. Just hang on with that and we'll do. Is that sufficiently present for people that you have a fear of failure? You feel it all over your body, your thoughts, your memory, and we also have always a corresponding way of coping with it. Jerry, is that communicate?
Yes.
Okay, great. So
far.
okay, well,
I'm gonna stress everyone.
yeah, I know. So the stress level doesn't go up. Actually, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to get up and walk around. So I want to give everyone an opportunity to get present to what the experience, your experience of inauthentic fear is like for you. So in the moment you walk around and not only tell people the experience of inauthentic fair is like for you, but also tell them your strategies for dealing with it. So you'll say, my inauthentic fear is about the dark, and you know, something may jump at me, and my, you know, way of dealing with it is to carry a flag, or, you know, have Blake deal with it, or whatever.
Go get the light switch.
Yeah. Right?
Get rid of the
Okay.
monster lake.
All right, so everybody get up and walk around and share what your unauthentic fear is and your strategy for dealing with it. So get present. You guys have about 10 minutes. So.
No, I do have and if it does, we're all screwed. And I'm also at the, how do I that's something I don't think because get sued because I myself and then because I was taking a job and then, you know, I did this.
I'm also like, you're supposed to like create any possibility. Yeah. The forum is about between the past and the advances of creating a possibility. I'm not scared of anything to say. Does that make sense?
It's just
I'm scared of nothing. It's a very common fear.
hasn't always worked.
One of my most common fears of conduct is fear of losing my keys in school. Anytime I walk by, I always, like, cause like I'm coming out of the grocery store, you know, you got your bags in one hand, your keys in the other.
Freaks us
I
out.
put my keys a lot tighter.
It's just day, like part of it is just the neighborhood.
So I either,
I mean,
It makes me like, I make like weird faces. I'm like, I'm scared. Like, you're
and I married his son, so I hate it if I get into an argument with my daughter. Because that's the last thing she hears.
Yeah. Was it a
You
fear
know,
of
and
too?
that's
Stupid,
I don't want
subconscious.
that. You know, so if those fears just intimidate my husband, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
this has been
also
working the
fear
whole time, you know, because we had a cycle going. I mean, it was like every 6 months, but you know, and it was just like, you know, I'd get up here, I'd get up here, and just lash out at me. But, when she was younger, I got physical a couple of times, couldn't just been on that. But.
So, like, if I have an issue with something that somebody's doing,
But,
or I don't like
it's just gotten to the point, you know, that I just choose to accept her. And that's too
See their
because she
audience.
is what she is.
I
She
see my
is
own audience.
it's just not, it's not gonna change. There's nothing I can do.
How about you?
I've tried for 43 years to help this girl. And I can't do anything about it, so it's her fault. So, and her boyfriend was with us the other day with her. I really like her. So there's probably something I don't know about him. You know, but I said,
Yeah,
I
when I was
just
talking about that
accepted
earlier,
who she is, and who she
it
is.
just stops. A lot of times.
You know, and I
It's
thought,
something that's outside
put
of
it that way. Because
I
now you
don't
have
know.
choices.
It's like, I don't know how to do my taxes.
Don't really want to have
Finally,
to
some
do
of that
that.
stuff should
Take it offensive, but.
Alright, I'll figure it out.
Come over, drop it. Okay, I enjoy your company.
It never is as bad.
So much so. You're too drunk. You know, somebody has to work on that, and the way to do. Don't want to fight
There's
it,
some fun, like,
take it
so glad I did. Every day, that's my experience.
So, it is what it is. And both my son and I decided probably
I get there and I'm like, oh, that was really good.
and neither one of us, I mean, she doesn't get rock bottom.
That's interesting. It's like, so you have a process
At this
experience
point,
every time.
she's getting evicted.
So I'm
And I won't
surprised
let
that
her.
when you go to the next one, you're not like, hey, this is.
Boyfriend just
What do you
thinks
think
that's horrible, but we can't live with her.
After I addressed the thought, oh, did this happen every week?
She's 43, she'll go out,
Like, I'm able to
she'll
get
party.
I would stay in that, but that thought still pops up every week.
Okay, and they still have devoted. But doesn't really have a safety on it, it's harder to pull up for something. But, you know, so I would be dangerous. You know, so I gotta have my house safe and sound.
You guys need more time, or?
You know, so.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And that's a.
Thanks, guys.
Fear, because it's not exactly. You know, and I think part of it is just safe. I don't think I should keep my windows open, you know. Anymore, just, yeah, you know, so, but it's still an unintended here, but I'm just thinking any moment this is gonna happen. And so my neighbors think I'm a little. I don't get along with them really well, but nobody bothers me. I live alone, so I just assume they thought I was a little crazy. You know, that gal next door is retired military, dad's good. Yeah, that's me.
What about you, Danny?
It's a couple of things. Ever since I was 5, I had this, that's fear of death, right? It's just not existent. Total. All the way up.
Yeah.
It's real, you're gonna die, right?
Well, none of us are getting out of here alive.
At some point, I don't know what happened. I haven't happened. It's, yeah, I'm gonna die. You're right.
How about you? What's your
The life back here, the life that I have. So that's the years ago that, I think more recently having, fear that, just wouldn't work out. I don't know, like I would go into a job or something like that. Just things fall apart. You always think you know, just like, you hope that you get all that fear that is I make decisions. I'm afraid to say options are not doing this or not doing that.
It actually puts restriction in when you do that.
Instead of those things being an opportunity.
I can identify with that. Just so you know. I do that, I feel that too, like I'm afraid I'm gonna do it wrong. Because there's
I'm not afraid that's
like
something.
I value in their lives.
Then that's something that will be different in
Even
my
though I
life.
know what I'm doing, I don't always approach it like, take on as many clients as I want to be as successful as I want. I know that as a level I could because of the dream of failure, which is just random in my head.
And then they give us resentment towards yourself. What you like?
Are you a slow developer?
Hey, I can identify with that, that's why I haven't signed up for that McMaster. Because I really don't, I'm afraid of what I am. I'm afraid that I'll
insecure about this right now.
Fail
I was
that.
listening to her
Oh,
now,
you,
and I'm gonna
you
take
can't
some.
build it.
I mean, I'm not trying to trick on it, but that's where he's coming from.
I want you to
Because
go.
once you come out of the form, and a lot of people, the first thing they wanna do is get in there.
Saying that, I'm like, I'm
And
afraid to get comfortable about it.
You know, I
That's
really
what
enjoy
it
the
is,
form,
it
I
makes
like
me
it.
really comfortable. And I avoid that feeling of uncomfortable and not knowing. And that's just for this class, Terry. The first day you're standing there like, giving them what I signed up for.
You know,
There's that anticipation.
you know, think fear.
All right, we get to wrap it up.
You know,
Back to your seats and.
it's crazy, I mean, you don't even look at it, you stand down for a
Well,
minute.
mine was very
You stand back and look at it,